Hi everybody, I'm Diana. Welcome to our Riley Blake Block Challenge video for block number 5 with Sew in Common and Build a Quilt, of course. So we here at Build a Quilt are creating our blocks in the hoop of our embroidery machine, and at the end I'll show you where you can get your free Build a Quilt pattern sets. As long as you have a 5x7 frame for your embroidery machine, you can do these blocks along with us. I am digitizing them so they can be made in this manner, but they're completely free to everybody. Now, let me start out by apologizing. My voice is coming and going. I'm kind of getting over a cold. You can still kind of hear it and all. I'm feeling better, but I still have all this head stuff going on. I appreciate you understanding that. So if you went out to the Riley Blake Challenge page, you got your Riley Blake pattern, which is important for you to have it. I should hold it up right side up and not right side down, which is important for you to have. All of that information was in our first Riley Blake pattern video. I'll link that at the end of this one. So if you're new, you can grab that information and know what's going on. But this week's pattern on the website looks like this. Now, I apologize again, I'm losing the color in my printer. I need to get a new cartridge. But let's go over this really quick. This is the block right here. It's called Dazzle. And this block was created by Christy Lee for Riley Blake. And of course, you'll get general information, and you get, of course, your digital files that have been created in the Build a Quilt pattern format so that you can do it with your embroidery machine. You're going to get your cut sheet so you know how to cut your fabric, just basically a handful of squares that you're going to cut on the diagonal this week. At the end of this main video, there is going to be a video clip where I'm going to go through with you placement and how to put this block together, because it's not going to go together in traditional rows. So stay tuned. After I sign off, stay tuned, because that video will come right up for you. You're going to get a sheet that's going to show you how much of each one to make. Then this block, instead of rows, gets put together in quadrants. So you're going to have 4 quadrant sheets to show you how those quadrants go together. And then you'll have a final layout sheet as well to help you. Now, this is the same information that you'll see on the Riley Blake piece. However, it's a bigger picture, so it might help you. You can print these, or you can just keep them on your computer, however you want to do that. So before we go and talk about this week's, let's look at the last 4 that we've done. This was week 1. This one was week 2, week 3, and week 4. So we've done 3 videos now. We did those 2 in the first video and those 2 in the second video. And I told you originally that I would also do the 6th one. There was no block this week. In week 7, there was no block. The next block comes out next week. For whatever reason, they took a break this week, which is kind of nice that they built that in for whatever reason. Gives you a little time to get caught up. This block will come out next week. And the reason I decided to split them up instead of giving you both is, although this block is very easy, it's half square triangles and squares, it's kind of fiddly in regard to placement of the squares. It's something you kind of need to look at and focus on, and I wanted to go over that in the film clip with you. But this one, and I've got this one digitized, and I'm working on my prototype for it. This one is called Bloom Where You Are Planted. It's week 6. It is going to be a little more, I suppose we could say, complicated or detailed. I like that word better. Let's say detailed. And so in this video, I want to go through demonstrating the actual making of this block, each of these segments and all, because we've never done a segment piece like this. It's not any more difficult than any of them that we've done. It just looks different. And sometimes when things look different, it feels different to us, like, oh, maybe this is going to be more complicated or something. It's not, but we're going to go through it all together in next week's video. Now, next Tuesday is the 7th week block. I don't know what it is. They don't tell us in advance. But if I feel like it's not going to overdo it, I'll do them together. If I feel like this, and I kind of do feel like this block needs to be a video all in itself, I'll try to do that next week's video earlier than the next Thursday so that we're still caught up by the next Thursday. I know it's complicated to remember all of that, but just know that this next week, Bloom Where You Are Planted, block number 6 by Jennifer Long, we're going to do a much longer in-depth video on that next week. That's really all I meant to say. But like I said, I'm on sinus medication, cold medication. I've got a sinus infection going on. It's just been crazy. So I hope my husband doesn't get it. That's what I hope. We'll see. He might. This is actually, so this video comes out on Thursday. This is now Wednesday morning, early Wednesday morning. So we'll keep our fingers crossed that he doesn't come down with it. So let's just go on. This is our block for this week called Dazzle. Now I go over this in much more detail in the video clip. This block has a lot of color in it. It has, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. It's got 12 plus your background, 13 colors in it in total. That's a lot of colors. And of course, you know, I give you the color information in this, but the actual Riley Blake, if you're using their fabric, that information is right here. That's why you really should print this out or at least download it so you have the Riley Blake information on color and all. And I'm not using their fabric because I couldn't get it in. So in time, it was going to be like mid-March before I'd get any of it in. Excuse me. So I'm using the same colors, just not the same fabric. So in this one, there is a lot of color. And normally I'm like, the more color, the better. The brighter, the better. I love color. This one seems to me to have maybe overdone it on color a little bit. However, as I explain in the video, we don't know where this is going to go in their overall layout of the quilts that we're going to get that layout at the end of May. So I suspect that perhaps once this is in the quilt design, these colors and placements and things are going to make much more sense. This might be more of a transition block to transition the pattern into to another part of the pattern or something. We just don't know because it's going to be a surprise, which I love. I love surprises like that. So I used a couple of Moda Grunge fabrics. This fuchsia magenta, this coral, that's Moda Grunge. I think, I don't know. This isn't, it's not Lori Holt, but these are, no, it's not Lori Holt, but it's another fabric line that's similar to hers. This is Lori Holt, though. This is another one of those bee cross stitch fabrics, but in the more pumpkin color. I just had some red. This color here, this is this year's color of the year, the Blue Nova. They call it blueberry in their pattern information. Their actual fabric is called blueberry. Let's see, it's H is fabric 8. Let's see if I can read this. It's called Finch in the hand-dyed batiks, and it's called blueberry in the confetti cottons. But it is that Blue Nova color. I love it. It's kind of a deep periwinkle. I just think it's a really beautiful color. So I'm really glad to see that in this challenge, these blocks are picking up the colors from the colors of the year, from like the trended colors of the year. So I love seeing that in here. And then this line here is really a print that reads as solid. And then my green, I don't know where this one came from. I think this is actually part of a Christmas fabric line that I had, but I'm using it as my green. So I had enough of these that I'm going to be able to make a few blocks in the challenge with these fabrics. So I pulled to use those because I'm out of a lot of those. Now you notice in my first one up there, the Vintage Delight block, that center block and part of the Flying Geese parts of the peony blocks, that is that Blue Nova. So it turned out really pretty and I was really glad to be able to use it again, but I didn't have that lime or that fuchsia pink or magenta or the that orange to use again. So I had to pull some different ones. So my quilt in the end will be very mixy, matchy, scrappy, but that's okay. It's going to be unique in its of itself. No one else is going to have a quilt like it, right? And yours might end up that way as well. In fact, on Sunday, or actually tomorrow, which is Social Friday Live, don't forget to stop by here with me at 3 p.m. Central Standard Time for Social Friday Live. I've got a fun new gadget to show you that's great for your finished quilting. And it has a use from years gone by. So it's something really fun. And then I have some photos to show you of some blocks that some folks have sent in. So you can still either send me your blocks at support@sewincommon.com, or you can download them at our Facebook page, Sew in Common, because I'd love to be able to show them to everybody and let everybody see them, because you can really get inspired. You can really look and see what other people are doing that might not be the challenge colors at all. I'm just trying to use the challenge colors so that you guys can see it kind of how Riley Blake is intending it. I wish I had known about it soon enough to get fabric, but this came about because of a group of you that wanted it, and I'm happy to do it. It was just a little late for me to get my fabrics. So let's take a look again. So week 1 was Vintage Delight. Week 2 was, I think, Sparkle and Shine. This one is called Dalesford. And this one is called, oh golly, let me get my binder. See, I have a binder. I'm keeping my patterns in, just like you guys. This one is Framed Star. And this one is the one last week where this is supposed to be 2 modified half square triangles, but I digitized it for you guys as a modified Flying Geese unit block. And it took out some bulk because it took out some seams, worked out really well. This one, the Framed Star, is by Fran Gullock. Dalesford is by Amy Smart. Sparkle and Shine is by Beverly McCullough and then Lori Holt. And today's block is by Christy Lee. So in this one, I go over this more in the sorry, I'm having a blank, in the video at the end here, the little video clip, what you cut and all. But this is just a bunch of half square triangles and 4 solid blocks. And when I look at it like this, I don't see a pattern. I see no rhyme or reason to it. And you might see it like that as well. And I think the reason why it's hard to see any pattern to it is because all of the color. However, like I said, I don't know how it will work out in the quilt in the end. I'm sure it will make much more sense in the end. However, in the mini video, I do go through this with you because there is a definite pattern to this, okay? There's meaning to this. I had to study it for a little bit, but there's definitely meaning to it. So that all these blocks, if you're new, are 10 by 10 inch. So that is this week's block, Dazzle. You can get any of these patterns for free over at our website, sewincommon.com. In the description below will be all the information so that you can go to the Riley Blake website and print out all the information you need there. And in the video that I'm going to link, I go over all of that with you, because you should definitely download the information from Riley Blake. It's very helpful in the end, and we talk about that. But you can get all of the free Build a Quilt patterns over at the website. Plus, of course, you can get our Build a Quilt basic set, blocks 1 and 2 set. And check out some of our other free patterns or pattern sets over there as well. All right, everybody, if you need to contact me again, please do so at support@sewincommon.com. And now I'm going to say goodbye and let you watch the clip of how this block gets put together once you've made your half square triangles and your squares. Super one. This is a great beginner block, by the way, because you're only doing the 2 simple segments. You're just doing several of them. All right, everybody. Thanks so much for joining us today. If you haven't subscribed to our channel yet, we'd love to have you do that and have you part of the Sew in Common family, and to do Build a Quilt, Patchwork in the Hoop with us. And please like and share this video with others. I know that there was, like I said, there was a group of you that wanted this done in the Build a Quilt format, so I was happy to do that. There might be other people out there that would love to do this, but they're new to quilting, or they've tried quilting in a different technique. This technique, if they have an embroidery machine, is super simple for them to do. So you might share that with them, and I would definitely appreciate it. So thank you so much. Thank you to all of our new subscribers this week, and to all of our returning subscribers. You guys are a great group of folks, and I love doing this Riley Blake challenge with all of you. So until next time, have fun, have a great day. Go make your dazzle block. And of course, as always, sew life beautiful. Bye, everybody. Okay, everybody, here we are at the cutting table, and I have my segment pieces for the dazzle block all laid out. And I have to admit, this block to me, after some study, I understand what the designer's trying to do here. But it feels to me like this block has too much color in it, because the idea of the pattern is not obvious to me. And I'm wondering, to me, it on first look, it looks just like half square triangles and a few squares thrown in. But really, there is a pattern here. It just isn't completely obvious with all of the color. And that's hard for me to say because I love color so much. I'm always like, more color, more is more in that instance, right? I love it. But in this case, it just, I see that she's used many of the colors in the palette that Riley Blake is using for this quilt. And I can see now, and I'll show you the pattern, the design, in case you can't see it very obviously. But I think I would have kept it maybe to just a few colors in here to make it more obvious. However, when we get the layout in May, I am super excited to see where this block is going to go, because I suspect that somehow these colored quadrants are going to match up with something, and then a whole new pattern will show up, and it's going to end up being really obvious why they did it this way. So that's one thing to always remember when you're doing your piecing and all, is don't necessarily judge a single block, because until you get an overall layout and see it all put together, or at least all laid out together, all your blocks, you don't know exactly what's going to happen. So let me grab a little, I'll use my little R&K turner here. Let's talk about what this pattern is. Let's just look at the 4 blocks right in the center. Just look at those. Do you see how those are going? That's a pinwheel. It's very obviously a pinwheel. However, with all 4 of those colors, now if I moved all of this out and we just look at that block, it's very obvious a pinwheel. And in that case, 4 different colors in your pinwheel is fun. I love that idea. That reminds me of the little pinwheels we used to get when I was a little girl, that you blew on them, or the air, and they would spin and spin and spin. So that, I think, is perfect. I love that. But it's when you start adding in all the rest of this that it becomes a little bit muddied. For me, anyway. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm completely wrong. And Lord knows that would not be the first time I've been completely wrong about something in my life. So, and I'm not saying this is a bad block or anything like that, because however a designer designs something, they design it with intent. So I am not judging this block. I'm just saying, for me, it was a little difficult to see it. However, once you put everything back together, add in your mind now. Let's move these out. Let's move this one out. Well, no, I think it's easier to see them if I leave them in, actually. So let's look at this square, this square, this square, and this square. So the two reds and the two greens. When you look at that and you look at the pinwheel in the center, do you see the friendship star with a pinwheel center? This is your friendship star, or what we also know as a Mississippi star, and the pinwheel in the middle. Yeah, I like that. So I think it might have been a little easier to see that if the four friendship star blocks, half square triangles, had been the same color. But like I said, I think when this all comes together, these colors where they are going to mean something in the overall quilt. So we have to wait till May now to find out. But that is, so it's a pinwheel inside a friendship star. And if you really look at it, your half square triangles follow themselves around. So these two right here, which is in your, actually, let's start here because this is the upper left quadrant. They start with the color half in the upper, then we move over and they go into the lower, and then here they go into the lower in the next direction, and this one they're back in the upper, going in an upper in a different direction. So they just follow themselves around, kind of like a pinwheel does. So if you forget about these two blocks for a second and look at the overall thing, you can almost see a pinwheel in a pinwheel. So you could see that block, I guess, a couple of different ways. But like I said, I'm always the person that says more color is fine by me. But it just made it a little difficult for me personally to see what was going on with this block. But I think I figured it out. And again, I could be completely wrong. If you see it a different way, let me know in the comments because I'd like to know if you see something different. All right, now what I want to do, you're going to get these pictures that we're talking about next in your Build a Quilt packet. You're going to get a cut sheet. You're going to see one that has all the different colored half square triangles, what to make of them, and the solid blocks, what to make of them. All of that is in there. And then you're going to get your quadrant layouts. You're going to get 4 pictures that are going to show your 4 quadrants: your upper left, your upper right, your lower right, and your lower left, because these need to be put together in a specific way to get this. And instead of sewing in rows, it's easier for this block to be put together in quadrants. And sometimes a block works out better that way. And you as a quilter get to decide. You might, as a quilter, say, well, I really just want to do rows. That's fine. That's entirely up to you. But as you quilt longer and you piece and do more patchwork, you'll see in your own mind, you'll start to see when things work better being put together through quadrant, or when they are better through rows. You'll figure that out for yourself. And there is no right or wrong unless you have to do it a certain way to get all your segments to come together properly. Kind of like in the last couple where we had to do the upper row, the bottom row, and then all the stuff in the center and then put it all together. You'll start to learn that as patchwork quilters. And if you've been quilting a long time, you already know this, but I mention it for all of our new friends in patchwork. So here are our 4 quadrants. You're going to start, I mean, you can sew them together in any order you want, but let's just start in the upper left and move around clockwise, okay? So in the upper left quadrant, you're going to have both of your magenta or fuchsia half square triangles, and you're going to have one of your green half square triangles and your pink square. So you're going to, and you'll see in the pictures, I'm not going to go through like put this in this corner. You'll see that in the picture. I think if I start saying it, the words will get confusing. But that's how this quadrant goes together. And you'll see that each quadrant has 2 of the same color in it and 1 color from a different set. So now let's move over into the upper right. Again, we have a red one this time, a red half square triangle, and then we have the two orange half square triangles. And I've used kind of a pumpkin-y orange because that's the orange I had available. And then this square is the coral. Now mine is a Moda Grunge fabric, so you see a little bit different color in there, but that is what I'm using for my coral. Okay, that's your upper right. In your lower right, you want to have your second green one. See, we used our first green one up here. We're going to do our second green one, our two yellows. And for my yellow this time, I chose a yellow with these little pretty flowers in it that are red and orange and the green. So they've got the colors in that yellow that go with some of our other half square triangles. So I felt fine about using that as my yellow. And this one I'm using as my lime. It's a print that reads as solid. I didn't have any more of my solid lime that I've used in my other blocks, so I used this one. And then in the lower left, you're going to use the blueberry. This is this year's color called Blue Nova. They're calling it blueberry, but it's that Blue Nova color, kind of a deep periwinkle. I really think it's beautiful. And then you're going to do, I'm sorry if my voice is going again, this cold is still, I'm feeling better, but my voice comes and goes a little bit. We're going to have the light blue half square triangles and our final red one. Okay. And so do your 4 quadrants and then sew together your 2 upper quadrants, your 2 lower quadrants, and then you're going to end up with 2 rectangles. And then you're going to sew them all together. And there's your dazzle block. And it really is a pretty block. And I know that in the end, it's going to fit into this quilt in a way that we cannot yet imagine. And so I think that's kind of the fun and exciting part of this, is how will this fit into our quilts in the end? But again, you'll have all the pictures for this. You're only doing 4 solid squares. So you can do that in, if you have at least a 6x6 hoop, you could do those 4 in one hooping. If you have your 5x7, I believe you can probably do 3 in a hooping and then 1 in maybe a 4x4 hoop or something. So you can still do some multiples in the hoops if you have a 5x7. And then you're making 2 of the different color half square triangles. You're making 2 red, 2 light blue, 2 fuchsia magenta, 2 green, 2 orange, and 2 yellow. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 colors. Yeah. And all of that's written out for you in the Build a Quilt information. But so for making your half square triangles, you're going to cut 6 squares and cut them on the diagonal. That'll give you 12 pieces, which is what you need because you're making 12 half square triangles. And then you're going to cut 1 of each of your 6 colors and cut it on the diagonal, and that'll give you your 2 pieces for your 2 half square triangles. So this one doesn't really take a lot of fabric at all. And when it's all sewn together, it will be your 10x10 block. Okay, everybody, thanks so much for watching. All the rest of the information was talked about at the beginning of the video, but I did want to go over this with you because I know for some of you, it's easier to see it in a visual format. Okay. All right, everybody, have a great week. Enjoy making this block. Next week's block, the Bloom Where You Are Planted block, is a little more detailed, and we're going to be doing a little bit more intensive construction demo and all of that with it, because it's a little bit more, I wouldn't say it's complicated. I would just say it has more moving parts. Okay, so until next week, everybody, sew life beautiful.